Before he shattered empires, before he inspired a generation, before his name echoed across the seas, Monkey D. Luffy was just a kid. A loud, reckless, smiling kid from Fuchsia Village. He didn't care about rules, didn't care about titles, didn't care about danger. All he cared about was freedom. And from the moment he met Shanks, the legendary red-haired pirate, Luffy knew what he wanted. He didn't want to conquer. He wanted to be the Pirate King. Not for the treasure, not for the power, but because the Pirate King is the freest person in the world. That dream, it burned so deeply in him that not even the sea could drown it, even after he ate the Gomu Gomu no Mi, a devil fruit that turned his body into rubber and cursed him to never swim again. He laughed. Because for Luffy, a dream with risk is better than a life without meaning. And when Shanks lost his arm to save him, Luffy made a promise to grow stronger, to build a crew, to find the One Piece, to become the Pirate King. He set out with nothing but a straw hat, a tiny boat, and an unbreakable will. But what followed would change the world. The world he entered was brutal. Pirates ruled the seas. Marines enforced justice twisted by politics. Warlords exploited the weak. But Luffy? He didn't flinch. He didn't wait for the perfect moment. He just went. Because in his heart, he believed something that scared the powerful. That even one person, with the right dream, could shake the world. He wasn't born special. He wasn't trained by masters or destined by prophecy. He just never gave up. He smiled in the face of giants, laughed through pain, and stood tall, even when the world tried to crush him. And that straw hat? It wasn't just a promise. It was a symbol of hope, of defiance, of the boy who would be king. This isn't just the tale of a pirate. It's the story of a storm, of a dream that couldn't be silenced, of a rubber man who broke the chains of fate. With a fist and a grin, Luffy's journey didn't begin with a crew. It began with a small boat and a bigger dream. He wasn't searching for allies, he was attracting them. Because when people saw Luffy, they saw someone different, not a captain by title, but by spirit. He didn't demand loyalty, he earned it. Zoro was the first, a swordsman with no master, a man who lived by his own code. But when Luffy cut him free and believed in his dream, Zoro followed him to the ends of the world. Then came Nami, a thief, a navigator with trust issues and a secret war in her heart. Luffy didn't judge. He fought Arlong, one of the most feared fishmen in the East Blue, just to give Nami her freedom. Usopp, Sanji, Chopper, Robin, Frankie, Brook, Jinbe. One by one, they joined. Not because they wanted treasure, but because Luffy believed in their pain, their purpose, their dreams. He didn't just gather a crew, he built a family. The Straw Hat Pirates weren't bound by blood, they were bound by belief. Each island they reached brought danger. Each enemy was stronger than the last. But Luffy never hesitated, because he wasn't afraid to lose. He was afraid to not try. He stood against tyrants, marines, warlords, and with each victory, the world took notice. He didn't seek fame, but infamy followed.
Because he wasn't just challenging the sea, he was challenging the system. He punched a celestial dragon, declared war on the world government, walked into prison to save his brother. And every time, he smiled. Because the Pirate King isn't the strongest, he's the freest. And with every step, Luffy wasn't just chasing his dream, he was making others believe in theirs. His ship, the Going Merry, and later, the Thousand Sunny, was more than wood and sails. It was home, and each battle scar told a story of friendship, of sacrifice, of laughter in the face of death. They fought against Crocodile in the sands of Alabasta, faced down Enel on the sky island of Skypiea, challenged CP9 to rescue Robin, and screamed to the world that she wasn't alone. Every arc wasn't just an adventure, it was a test sheet of how far Luffy would go to protect his crew. And the answer? All the way. To him, no treasure was worth more than the people beside him. He didn't need a map to the One Piece. He needed trust. And that's why the Straw Hats followed him through storms, wars, and even into the belly of death. Because Luffy never wavered. Not for a second. He wasn't perfect. He got reckless. He lost. But he always got back up, with fire in his heart and his fist aimed skyward. Because the Grand Line wasn't ready. For Monkey D. Luffy, Luffy's greatest treasure was never the One Piece. It was his crew. Each straw hat carried a burden, a scar, a dream too heavy for one person. But with Luffy, they weren't alone. Zoro, who vowed never to lose again. Namihu learned to trust after a lifetime of betrayal. Usopp, who found the courage to fight despite his fear. Sanji, who discovered that kindness could be strength. Chopper, who realized that being different didn't mean being less. Robin, who was hunted for her mind, but finally found a place to belong. Frankie, who built ships, but never had a crew to sail with. Brook, who waited decades alone, singing through his sorrow. Jinbe, who once fought against humans, and now protected them beside his captain. Together, there were chaos and comedy, a mess of personalities, but a perfect storm of loyalty. Luffy never asked for their pain, but he carried it anyway. He fought their battles, believed in their dreams more than they did, and when one of them fell, he was the first to stand in their place. To Luffy, being captain wasn't about control. It was about responsibility. He gave them freedom and they gave him everything, because the world may have called them pirates. But to each other, they were family, not bound by blood, but by unbreakable bonds. Every time Luffy shouted a new destination, they fought, not because the path was safe, but because they knew he'd protect them. And when he couldn't, they'd protect him. The Straw Hats weren't just a crew. They were the proof that in a world of chaos, connection still matters, that even misfits, outcasts, and orphans can become something unstoppable. Together, every member of the Straw Hat crew had a moment where the world told them they were worthless, where they were abandoned, broken, or hunted. But Luffy didn't see their pasts. He saw their worth, their potential. He invited them not with promises, but with faith. And that's why when the crew was scattered and it broke them. Because being apart from Luffy didn't just mean losing a leader. It meant losing the one person who made them believe they mattered. But even in separation, they held on. Because they knew Luffy wouldn't stop. He'd find them again. And he did. 2 years later, stronger, fiercer, and more determined than ever. He didn't rebuild a crew. He reignited a family. And from that moment on, the world would never be the same. They weren't just sailing for treasure. They were sailing for each other. For freedom, for dreams. That's what made the Thousand Sunny more than a ship. It was a sanctuary, a symbol of hope, of laughter after loss, of bonds that even death couldn't break. That's what it means to be a Straw Hat. That's what it means to follow Monkey D. Luffy. The Grand Line wasn't a road. It was a crucible. It didn't test strength, it tested will. And Luffy, he didn't just survive it, he evolved it. Because every island, every fight, every loss pushed him to be stronger, to be smarter, to be worthy. He battled warlords like Crocodile, who ruled with fear, fought gods like Enel, who thought themselves untouchable, and faced governments who saw him as a threat to order itself. But nothing tested him like the Paramount War, Marineford, where he raced against time to save his brother Ace. He broke into the most guarded prison in the world, teamed up with enemies, fought admirals, defied logic. But he was too late. Ace died in his arms. And for the first time, Luffy shattered. Because even the strongest rubber can break. He lost his brother, his purpose, his hope. But not forever. Because, in that pain, Luffy found clarity. He needed to grow, not just in strength but in heart. He trained. He listened. He built himself back, piece by piece. And when he returned, he was no longer just chasing the one piece. He was leading a revolution. Against tyrants, against injustice, against fate itself. Every power-up wasn't just a flashy move. It was survival. Gear second, gear third, gear fourth, and now gear fifth. Each transformation wasn't about domination. It was Luffy adapting, becoming what the world needed him to be. Not for glory, but to protect. He didn't want to rule. He wanted to laugh, to eat, to sail, to live free. And that freedom? It scared the powerful, because Luffy wasn't just growing stronger. He was becoming a symbol of rebellion, of joy, of a world where dreams could win. Kaido called himself the strongest, but Luffy didn't care. He stood up to him, again and again, even when the world thought he was dead. And when the drums of liberation rang, the world trembled, because Luffy had become something more, the sun god Nika, a figure of myth, of freedom, but he was still the same boy. Same grin, same hunger, same straw hat. He wasn't fighting for power, he was fighting for people. And that's why, even when the world government tried to erase him, Luffy kept rising. Because a pirate like him, you don't stop with force. You stop with fear. And Luffy fears nothing. Luffy was never interested in legacy. He didn't care about prophecies, bloodlines, or ancient names. But legacy found him anyway. The will of D, a mystery passed down through generations. Those who carry it are enemies of the gods, agents of chaos, harbingers of change. And Luffy, he wore that D with a grin. He didn't know what it meant. He just knew what he felt. That freedom matters. That laughter is power. That no one has the right to steal another's dream. And then came the truth. The Gomu Gomu no Mi wasn't just a fruit. It was a lie. It's Hao name Hito Hito no Mi Motonika. The fruit of liberation. The one the world government feared the most, because it gave not just strength but joy. And Luffy, he was its perfect wielder, not because of destiny, but because of choice. He never stopped smiling, never stopped fighting, never stopped believing. And that's why, even when the world tried to crush him, he danced. He laughed. He lit a fire no one could put out, because the Pirate King isn't the one with the most power. It's the one who sets others free. Joy Boy, a name lost to history, a promise unfulfilled, a symbol of hope from the void century. And somehow Luffy had become him. Not by blood, not by design, but by heart, by action, by the sheer force of will to bring joy where there was pain. He didn't seek titles, but titles found him. Warrior of liberation, Emperor of the Sea, successor of Roger's will. But to his crew, he was still just Luffy, their captain, their friend, the boy who loved meat more than gold, the one who saw a world worth saving. Because Luffy's legacy won't be carved in stone. It'll be sung in songs, laughed in taverns, etched into the hearts of those who finally dared to dream. Because when he says he'll be king of the pirates, he means he'll be free, and he'll take the whole world with him. Luffy's story is still being written, but what he's already done is legendary. His toppled regimes, freed nations, inspired the broken, and defied the gods. Not for power, but for people, for dreams, for freedom. Because Monkey D. Luffy isn't just a pirate. He's a movement, a reminder that laughter is stronger than fear, that friendship is stronger than hate, that no matter how dark the sea gets, there's always light, as long as someone's willing to chase it. And Luffy, he never stops chasing. So whether you've sailed with him since the East Blue, or you're just now climbing aboard, know this: his journey is far from over. The Pirate King still waits, and the boy with the straw hat, he's almost there. If Luffy's story lit a fire in you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more epic anime stories, and tell us in the comments, what's your favorite Luffy moment? And remember, you don't need to be made of rubber to bounce back. You just need a dream worth fighting for. Because that's what Luffy teaches us. It's not about where you start. It's about where you're going, and how many people you lift along the way. So go. Chase your treasure. Fight your battles. Laugh in the storm, and wear your dream like a straw hat. High, unshaken, unstoppable.